you closed your pre-seed for $3.2 million. So congratulations. That's fantastic.
Thank you very much.
And that's a fairly sizable pre-seed. Some are considerably smaller than that.
Yeah.
Do you think it was the problem that you're solving or the fact that you were a former successful founder, or a combination of both?
It's probably a combination there.
Yeah.
Obviously capital partners are always taking a risk when they invest in a new company, including mine. Mine
yeah,
is
well, of course.
still a risk.
Just because you've been successful once doesn't mean you're going to be successful twice.
Doesn't mean lightning strikes
That's
twice
right.
necessarily.
That's
right. But certainly having done it before, you are unlikely to repeat certain mistakes that you made the first time around. You'll of course make new ones. But you certainly learn. And so I think investing in established founders is one way to de-risk your investments.
Mm-hmm.
I also think that the space that we're in, project and portfolio management, is a particularly large TAM. And so there's a very large addressable market here. Virtually all companies need some sort of work management and orchestration. Mm-hmm. And so it's a big problem domain, a big space, which then is also of course attractive to investors. Though of course it's a crowded space. And so, the strength is also a challenge, where there are a lot of people that do something kind of similar to what we do. It's different. We have a differentiated offering, but on paper and at first glance, a lot of what we do looks similar to what other people do.
Right. And I'm glad.
So, yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
I was going to ask you about the competitive nature of this marketplace.
Yeah. So fiercely competitive. Mm-hmm. So there are enterprise agile planning tools, things like Jira and Rike that are really well known.
Trello, I guess, probably one of those. Yeah, right.
Yep. So and Trello tends to be a little bit of a down market competitor. It's also owned by Atlassian, who owns Jira as well.
Right, I knew that.
And Trello is kind of their lightweight version, and then Jira is heavier. Then Jira Align is their enterprise level offering. All of which are good products. We did not get into this space because we think the existing products are terrible and they suck. Then you also have tangential work management tools like ClickUp, Monday, where they're not built around agile planning. They're just built around task assignment to people on what is frequently called a board or a list or something like that. And those are all great tools for obviously they're incredibly successful companies. They're doing well. They're good tools. What they fail to address is if you have work in multiple projects that all needs to be tied together somehow, and you're trying to drive alignment and collaboration and visibility across multiple projects, those tools don't really address that need. And not every company has that need, but for the companies that do, we hope that we can offer a compelling solution.
Yeah, fantastic. So as you talked about, and I want to talk about a little more detail, you founded BriteCore in 2003, just a year, I believe, after you got out of school at Missouri State, right?
Yeah, I guess I would have been, I think we really began the company in 2004, 2003 was more of an exploratory year.
Got it.
Transition, gap year, if you will. I was actually in children's music songwriting at the time for a year. And so I did that for a hot second.
Got it.
I still randomly receive royalty checks for songs that I wrote back in the early 2000s. Oh
my God, that must just tickle you when a little royalty check comes in.
It's a total blast from the past, and every time one shows up, and then it reminds me of a whole different life that I used to have.
Right.
So we started it early on. Began doing purely website development, and doing that, we ended up working for a group of credit unions who then wanted an electronic banking statement product, and we developed that as an add-on to their websites. That went well, and a board member for one of the credit unions happened to also be the president of a mutual insurance company. And he approached me after a board meeting where I demoed this e-statement product that we had done. And he said, hey, if you can do e-statements, could you do a quoting system for my agents? And having no idea what I was getting myself into, I said, sure, why not? And so I did that with my cousin Chris. We founded that company together, and really enjoyed building and growing it, running it together. We had no idea what we were doing, but we stumbled through, and we got the first quoting system out, and sort of as a testament to the need in the market at that time. Despite the fact that we didn't know what we were doing, we still ended up producing what I think was by far the best product in the market for web-based quoting for regional mutual insurance companies. And so that business kind of took off for us. We quit our day job, started the company. Originally, it was called IWS, Intuitive Web Solutions, and we ran under that name while we did quoting systems for a long time. And fast forward to, I guess it would have been 2009, and a group of those customers asked us if we would push the quotes into their policy admin system. So take the quote from an insurance agent and turn it into a real policy in my administration system. And so we approached the vendor at the time and said, hey, we'd like to do this. And the vendor basically said, take a hike. And we're like, that's just like, I wouldn't tell all your customers, no, I wouldn't do that. And they were like, nope, strategic differences, competitive differentiation. We don't want to give you access to our core system. And we're like, okay. So we went back to the customers and said, hey, they said no. And boy, did it piss those customers off.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness, it made them so upset. And so within a few weeks, they had rallied, pulled together several $1 million in operating capital, and came to us and said, if they won't play nice, then go build the admin system. And yet again, we had no idea what we were doing, but we're just marched into the room and said, we'll figure this out. And we did. And from 2009 to 2011, we built the first version of BriteCore.
Right.
Launched it, did a pre-seed round, or actually a seed round in 2011. Value of the company, I think like 6.1 million. And we had like 6 customers then. And fast forward all the way to 2019, and we were up to 87 customers, $180 million valuation in a Series B. And so the company, did really well. And we learned a whole lot about property casualty insurance over that, 15, 16 year journey that we ran BriteCore.
Yeah. And that's really great. So, like I said, you stumbled into it. You didn't know anything. Tell me a little bit about, as a first-time founder.
Yeah.
Some of the mistakes that you made, and I mean, I don't need to hear all. Yeah, I know. That's how everybody responds. But let's, pick out. Let's say maybe 2 or 3 of your most glaring mistakes.
Oh my. Okay.
And what you learned and how you pivoted, and so on and so forth, and maybe why you made those mistakes.
Yeah. Okay. So, in no particular order.
Yeah.
One early mistake I made was over engineering to a specific customer's needs, as opposed to thinking like a product leader and a product manager.
Interesting.
So because a group of customers approached us, we really built a bespoke solution for their needs. When we went to expand BriteCore to other carriers, we always felt pain from some of the design limitations that just came from our own lack of awareness early on. That, all swans are white until you see the black one, right? And then it's like, you're like, there's a whole carrier over here that does something completely different that we never contemplated. So that was one of them. And I learned a lot about doing diligence in product and market research, which we did extensively at DevStride. And I think we've done a really nice job of positioning the product to reach a broad market and scale efficiently, because I learned that lesson earlier. So that was one. Another, I used to think that all that mattered was hiring really nice, smart people. And if you did that, you could teach them anything. And I used to hire people that I just liked them when I interviewed. And by the way, many of those people worked out very well in the long run. However, I learned later as the company started scaling the value of hiring a professional into a role or position, because you just don't know what you don't know.
That's right.
And the smartest person in the world, if on their first go around, is going to make some big mistakes. And so increasingly, as BriteCore grew, we brought in more, seasoned and vetted, credentialed leaders. And at DevStride, we started the company with people who all have 15 years of experience in their domain. So that we're doing a little less bumbling around, figuring it out as we go.
Yeah.
I'll give you a third, but then you feel free to prompt me for anything else you'd like to hear. But another one that I think I had really wrong early on. I used to think that success was all about getting to the right answer and knowing the right thing and being right, and discovering the right solution, the right path, the right workflow, the right whatever. And it's probably just a function of being young and precocious and all sorts of things. And I used to really value being right a lot and getting the right answer. And
a lot of people still do, I might add.
Yes, I'm sure. I
That's a big driver, I might add, of many people. Yeah.
I learned that at least in my experience, success was driven much more heavily by your ability to motivate and align people underneath a goal. And that has so much less to do with being right than it does with building alignment and collaboration. And a lot of that led to DevStride. Is that there's a really great case study analogy that I picked up while I was doing some executive education at the Sloan School. And I think the case study is called Any Map Will Do. And it's this, the idea, there was a crash landing happened for a sports team in the mountains, and they're forever and ever away from civilization. And somebody found a map in the wreckage, and everyone followed the leader who grabbed the map. And, harrowing journey follows, but ultimately, almost everyone survives, and probably everyone should have died. And the reason they survived is that they just kept moving. And I learned over time the value of just getting everyone to get on the same page and move in a direction, albeit imperfect, because you can course correct, you can inspect and adapt as you go. And that lesson took a while to sink in. That it was not about me being right; it was more about building alignment in the team. And that proved so much more successful for me after I learned that lesson.
Carol Schultz here. Thanks for watching this excerpt from Authentically Successful. The conversation doesn't end there. So if you want to hear this episode in full and all my conversations with many other successful founders and CEOs, please visit verticalelevation.com/podcast.